Hello, and welcome to the Argyle Digital Marketing Leadership Forum, CX/UX Optimization 2024. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speaker. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page. Throughout today's event, you will also have the opportunity to win one of several prizes. So be sure to check out the prizes and raffle rules tab of the interface to see how you can earn points. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker, Drew Hawkins, Director of Digital Marketing at Womble Dickinson. We're super excited to have Drew with us for the keynote presentation titled AI for Marketers, Revolutionizing Content, Data, Accessibility. Welcome, Drew. Over to you.
Thanks, Nick. As Nick said, I'm Drew Hawkins. I work with Womble Dickinson. Outside of being a mouthful of a company name to say, we are an AM Top 100 law firm, and our firm spans the gambit of everything that you could think of from law, from IP litigation, energy, financial services, you name it. We probably have some attorney that works in that business. So there's a lot to tackle. What I want to talk about today is taking some of the experience that we've had working in our law firm and how it can apply to anybody. So we're talking about AI for marketing. What I want today to be is to take AI and make it very, very accessible. So I'm not going to get very, very in the weeds, nerdy, or anything like that. So if you want a presentation that is going to walk through the how-tos of Midjourney or how to craft the perfect generative AI prompt in ChatGPT or fill in the blank with any other tool that you can think of, this is not that presentation. But what this presentation will be are some tactical things that hopefully you could take away today and implement at your jobs or within your organization. If you're looking at this from a marketing perspective, that's your full-time job, or you're trying to learn more about it, or you just help marketing from a volunteer perspective. I feel like any of those use cases could be applicable here, and hopefully you'll have some ideas to take away of what you could do. So I always have like one little obligatory, hey, AI is transformational, kind of have to have it. So here it is. This is from the CEO of IBM. So if I feel like, if anybody's going to have an important opinion on AI, it's going to be somebody in a very massive technology organization. And she describes AI as the new UI. She's transforming how we interact with customers, reshaping the digital marketing landscape. And I think since social media, when I first started in marketing 15 years ago, my very first job was when Facebook just launched brand pages. I haven't seen this much change. And oh my gosh, we got to figure this out now kind of feeling everywhere since then, since AI's taken over. But AI really isn't that new. We've been talking about it a lot in the last year. I feel like any sort of blog post I write, or even that our firm writes that like tangentially talks about AI, is getting a ton of traffic. But it's been around a long time. Not this AI, not Allen Iverson, of course. He has been around a long time, but we're talking about artificial intelligence. Amazon's personalized product recommendation is a good example of that. I think this has been around for at least over a decade, if not longer, and it has fueled impulse buying on the internet for quite some time. I know I'll go into Amazon to just buy something that I need and end up going down a rabbit hole of things around the house that I didn't think of. So that recommendation engine that Amazon has to look at your buying history, look at the demographic information that you have fed it to come up with different product recommendations of things you might want to buy. And there is no telling how many billions of revenue Amazon has generated from that AI feature built into their platform. Another thing is Spotify. I don't know if everybody uses Spotify here, but I imagine a good many of the folks in this presentation are Spotify users, and they use technology to compile custom playlists based on user behavior. And yes, I am silently judging your year in review playlist. I know mine's a little weird because I have small kids at home, so I have a mix of what I like and then what they like. So it's a little bit of alternative rock and a little bit of kids bop all meshed together in this really weird year in review that doesn't make any sense. But it's a lot of fun also seeing how Spotify can custom name playlists. We'll have friends that have playlists curated for them through their Spotify account that just have really funky, weird, but really specific and accurate names. And Spotify uses, what it knows about the metadata from the songs, what it knows about your user behavior, what you listen to, how long you listen to it, and be able to create a very personalized experience for you as a user. They keep you coming back to that platform versus going somewhere else. So what's really new here, AI has been around for a while. Generative AI is really, I want to talk more specifically about today. That's what's new. That's what brands are doing a lot more of. I think that's what a lot of us as marketers are trying to wrap our heads around a little bit more and a little bit better at every single day. And some brands are having a lot of fun with it. So I want to walk through just a couple of brand case studies just to get your wheels turning just a little bit. This particular case study here is from Ogilvy and Nestle. I'll speak over because the music adds a little bit to it, but you're not going to miss any narration. What I think is really interesting about this is how they took art, took a consumer packaged good product that you see right here, and combined them into really interesting. They put two things together that you wouldn't normally put together, but in a really fun experience. I'll let you guys watch the end of this video. Sorry, guys. It was playing on the presenter mode, but not here. Here we go.
L'un des chefs-d'œuvre nationaux, la laitière de Vermeer, a dévoilé de nouveaux détails.
L'IA a extrapolé en fait le décor qu'il y a autour du célèbre tableau de Vermeer.
Dernière pub réalisée grâce à l'intelligence artificielle par notre célèbre marque de produits laitiers.
So you can create some cool art with generative AI. You saw how they are expanding that. I know on Instagram that I'll see some people playing with the new Photoshop AI generator in my stories. It's really interesting. So you could create cool art with generative AI, but what if you could create cool art that could also scale and be hyper localized? So this next thing that I'm going to show you guys, and we'll have the video right this time, is how we've taken that same generative AI piece, but humanized it and then localized it in a really interesting way.
Big brands have big money to hire famous people.
Ah, shoot.
Big brands have big money to hire famous people, but not the small guys. And they are the ones who are still hurting. Presenting Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad.
Welcome, Shah Rukh Khan. He almost certainly has more devoted fans than any other movie star in the world.
Biggest movie star in the world.
Forbes have called him one of the biggest movie stars in the world.
We help small businesses by making Shah Rukh Khan, the world's biggest movie star, their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन और एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। सिद्धिविनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना।
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं?
We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
आप भी ना अपने पास वाली चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। रॉयल फैशन से ही, MK क्लॉथ्स से ही, पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग।
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
It is Shah Rukh Khan selling your store, man. If you're a small-time retailer or a merchant, what an amazing thing to have.
Cadbury ad is an ad campaign that has gone viral.
A new ad which stars Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan is winning hearts all over social media.
And what we are learning is that over 1 lakh local stores have already created their own ad with Shah Rukh as a brand ambassador.
दुकानों के नाम पूरी सेलिब्रेशंस के दिवाली एड में शामिल हैं।
सपने में भी नहीं सोचा था कि शाहरुख खान मेरी दुकान का ऐड करेगा।
Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad.
So that example there, I thought was extremely cool. Also a little bit creepy if you think about it. You could take somebody's voice, somebody's facial features, their expressions, and make them say pretty much whatever you want to. Yeah, I know some of you guys probably are aware of this and even tried this a little bit. And what you saw there at that case study, I thought was ironic. They teed up the video saying brands have big budgets, but here's this big budget thing our big budget brand did. You know, they're focused on the hyper local part for small businesses, but it took at that time a lot of technology and a lot of people knowing what they were doing to be able to pull something like that off, technically speaking. But I have good news or bad news, depending on your point of view. You don't need a big budget to do cool things with generative AI at all. And so I'll show you a couple of tools that are pretty accessible. And I think in the terms of marketing technology, if you're a buyer of MarTech, you know, going to be expensive. These are very, very cheap tools in the grand scheme of things. So one is 11 Labs. This is starting to pick up a little bit more in popularity. I even saw one of my favorite columnists in The Atlantic wrote about it this last week in his Galaxy Brain article. But 11 Labs allows you to take a piece of text and write something down and have a voice say it. So when we first started using 11 Labs probably 6 to 9 months ago as a firm, and I'll explain how we use it here in a few minutes. It had 4 or 5 different voices. You could kind of tweak them a little bit. You could adjust the pitch a little bit and that kind of thing. They have since expanded their library of voices, and it's pretty incredible. If you use Unsplash, and I feel like if you're a marketer on this, you probably have some familiarity with using Unsplash for something you've worked on from a content perspective, whether it's presentation, web page, blog post, whatever that is. And they have a huge library of generated images that people have submitted and have approved. 11 Labs is doing that for voice. So you have a lot of voiceover artists now that have much more professional voices that make anything you type in sound very, very cool. So once it generates that bit of text, you like the way it sounds, you hit download. Now you've got a sound file that you can use and place wherever you need to place it. So if you have a podcast, and here's how kind of we use it, a podcast where you want to have a consistent host, but you may not have the same availability for the same people all the time. You can always have a consistent intro and outro, same voice, no matter what it looks like going on in your company from a scheduling perspective, a personnel perspective. You have some continuity there that AI can bring in that you didn't have to have. Plus, you don't have to worry about recording, dog barking in the background, and all that. You have the exact same quality recording every single time you put something together. Another thing that's kind of creepy is from HeyGen, and some of you guys might be.
Welcome to the definitive iPhone versus Android video. De acuerdo. Bienvenido al video definitivo de iPhone versus Android. D'accord. Bienvenue dans la vidéo finale de l'iPhone versus Android.
So this is one capability of HeyGen, and I promise you I'm not a spokesperson for HeyGen or even a customer or brand ambassador or anything like that, but this is another feature, another tool that is, from a cost perspective, relatively accessible, I feel like, but it can do a lot. So the video example I showed here was how you could take a piece of video that you've already created and translate that into any language that you want. So if you're looking at localizing content to different languages, but you don't want to pay for translation services or something like that, this is something you could use. They also have the ability to, in the same way you have what I show with 11 Labs with just voice, they do that with video too. So they have custom avatars where you type in and have them say whatever you need them to say, place them in videos. You can even, if you get a good enough quality recording, I can record myself and have myself type in and say whatever I need myself to say. So if you're a bigger company, you have a CEO and you want them to be the spokesperson, but they're traveling a lot, they're hard to get a hold of, and you need them to release a statement, but you can't get them in a good recording spot. If you have like an avatar pre-created of them using HeyGen, you could have them read off a statement or video a statement or something like that. And I imagine if it's not already happening, you might start seeing some companies start to do that, something along those lines a little bit more often. So I've talked about a couple of tools. Here are how some other brands are using it. But what I know I learned the best from is seeing how somebody actually uses this day to day. And what we do here is not highly technical. I feel like anybody could jump in here and do what we're doing. So this is a behind the scenes look at how we look at content creation from an AI perspective. So here's what our journey looks like. We are, like I mentioned earlier, we're a law firm, and what makes us a little bit different from a marketing perspective is that a lot of our content is attorney driven. So I've worked in the professional services side at a consulting firm, and a lot of that, most of it was marketing driven, right? We would interview some of our consultants for insights and whatnot, but a marketing team or a agency or some combination of the two would be the ones putting out a lot of that content. It's a little different in big law. So we'll have client alerts and insights pieces and all sorts of things come through our team constantly. I think we put out an average of about 400 new pieces of content a year. There's a lot going on. So the more we can automate things without losing and sacrificing quality, the better. And AI really empowers us to do that. So here's an example. We'll get a final draft out of an article. Again, I'm at a law firm, so it's probably going to come to us in the form of a Word doc saying, hey, can you get this on the website and share it on social, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure the right clients are seeing it. All of that. So we'll create an email. We use another tool, and this is a little bit more expensive, so that's why I didn't put it at the front end of the presentation, called Jasper. It's a lot like, I hate to say it's like ChatGPT, because it is in the manner where it helps you create prompts and with brainstorming and that kind of thing. But you can upload a lot of knowledge information about your company and train it on your brand voice and tone. So the outputs that it has sounds like something your brand would write. And so what we'll do is create an email. We'll take that entire document, and instead of trying to cram that entire alert or insights piece in an email, we'll pop it in there and say, hey, can you give us an email getting people to click through, some high-level summary, to click through and read the whole article. Also give us 3 or 4 example subject lines that we can get approval on. So that'll get created. Then we'll also use Jasper to create a podcast script. So not everything that is meant for reading is going to translate as well from an audio perspective. So we'll take that, have it rewrite it as a podcast script, put that podcast script into 11 Labs, which is the next step. We just kind of walk through that a little bit, and we'll paste that into Capwing, which is what we use for podcast editing. And then that will help us generate not only the podcast, but we'll also create visual sound bites, take clips for that, and those visual sound bites for social. Here's kind of what a sample what the end product looks like. You have a web version. This will help us with accessibility too. We'll take that podcast episode of that article, embed the player at the top of the article so people can listen to it if they can't read it. You have the email version right there in the middle of the screen, and then a visual sound clip for social. That's what it looks like on social. If you scroll through our LinkedIn page, we have one of those every couple of days, so you can probably find one. It doesn't necessarily drive that many podcast subscriptions, but it's a good interactive piece of content for social to extend the shelf life of the whatever the attorneys have written. Some other ideas for marketers: you can target ads using first-party data. So you can say, hey, we have CRM data. We know a lot about our customers. We know a lot about their intent. We use an ABM tool called Demand-Based to measure intent. And then we can see, hey, based on what they're doing, we can see where in the buyer funnel they are. And so we can create ads that say, hey, for awareness, we're just going to have an ad that says Womble Bond Dickinson, we exist. But kind of in that evaluation to intent part of the funnel, we might have content directly specific at them saying, hey, if anybody works in an energy company and they are looking at energy transition from an intent data perspective, let's make sure they're seeing ads about all the energy transition articles that we are putting out right now. Simplify executive reports. So if you have to send a summary to C-level or somebody above you saying, here's what my department's working on, or here's what I've been up to, or we're working on a campaign right now, here are a couple quick takeaways. Instead of having to digest all this information, figure out how do I simplify this? How do I put this in a way that they'll actually take the time to read it and not have this big, massive narrative that your main points get lost? Use something like ChatGPT to synthesize all that data and have it write those prompts for you. So on the screen right here, you can read it. I won't read it to you. This is from ClickUp. They have some good tips that I've used before on, hey, here's some prompts that help you write a good executive summary. And then for brainstorming, I think some of the hardest parts of creative writing or doing anything is just getting over that hump. So it will help you with writer's block. So you can have AI simulate different viewpoints to get different perspectives on a piece of content you're writing on. Set clear objectives. So when you're putting a prompt in, I did say it's not a prompt training thing, but this part kind of is. Clearly define the goals and constraints to get better answers. And don't forget the human element. So if you're pulling something from ChatGPT, like always double check it. Do not trust anything you get from Gen AI blindly. And then how do you get better? Practice. Bringing it back to our buddy AI. The best way to get comfortable with new AI tools is to just practice, play around with it, find some fun, low stakes way to get involved with it. Play around with it. I know I got involved and got familiar with ChatGPT just reading to my kids. So I would talk to my kids and I would say, hey, let's do a story tonight. What do you want to do? And it was kind of like Mad Libs. I would say, okay, name some cartoon characters, name a setting like a haunted house or the zoo or something like that. And name a couple of random items. We would pop it in there and work on creating a prompt, and GPT would read a bedtime story to us, which was a lot of fun. So we came up with some really funny bedtime stories that I don't think I could have come up with on my own that we all had a lot of fun with. And then to kind of close this out, here's a quote from Mark Cuban. It might be the greatest advancement in history of mankind. There's always going to be a downstream element to that. I think there's a lot of great things to AI. There's probably a lot of negative come out of it too. But from a marketing perspective, it's something we could do a lot of good with. So that is the end of what I had prepared. Ready to take a few questions. I see some coming through the chat, so I can run with those, Nick, if you're good with that.
Absolutely.
Question one: How have you seen AI be used to personalize digital marketing content for different audience segments? So that kind of really goes back to what I was talking about a second ago, targeting ads using first-party data. So it's not really a little bit of a Gen AI tool, right? So we use, like I said, demand-based for ABM. We will take what we know about somebody from the data we have in them, the CRM, like whether their job title, their department they work in, or the industry that they work in, and use that information to say, okay, where are they in the funnel? If they're in that kind of mid awareness, intent to purchase part of the funnel, like we might have an open opportunity with them actively, or just kind of a click back from that, we'll make sure that we have a piece of advertising that is really specific to what they're looking for, and that they know that we are the thought leaders in the problem that they're trying to solve. I think to take it a click up from that, if you're looking at what does the creative copy look like, you could use the brainstorming piece that I mentioned earlier as well. Where is it here? Where you can say, hey, here's the type of persona I'm trying to talk to. Here's the content I have. How could I create a LinkedIn post to talk to this person appropriately? So it won't get you all the way there, but it might get you 75% of the way there, and you can take it the rest of the way to the finish line, save a lot of time, and probably have a better product in the process. Question 2, how do you think AI will impact the future of influencer marketing and user-generated content in digital marketing? I think in terms of influencer marketing, you're already seeing it hit it, right? You have fake influencers now. With HeyGen, for example, you could completely fabricate an influencer with the right prompts and the right level of content. So I think it's going to completely disrupt influencer marketing. But it'll also probably make it more impactful, right? So once you know the influencer that you actually know is a human person, that might give them more credibility. So I think if you're an influencer, like a local person, like you're doing local food reviews, something like that, restaurants in your hometown, you might start seeing a dip because you're competing with bots. But I think over time, you'll kind of have this kind of upward trend where you may not have the scale that you did, but you will have more trust and authority and a higher rate of conversion for people paying attention to your content. With rapid advancement in AI technology, how can we ensure ethical use of data in our digital marketing strategies? That is a great question. I don't have a great answer for that. I don't know that other people do. I can just tell you what we do as Womble. First off, we have, and this is probably a little bit a click up, but we use a tool called Lega. It's built off of ChatGPT's or OpenAI's API, but basically it's the same functionality, but keeps us within a walled garden. So that way we're not supposed to be typing in client data or anything related to internal proprietary data at all in there, but it keeps everything kind of locked in, right? With Jasper, it has a tool to help look for plagiarism and things like that and cross-check. So that's something we also use on that front as well to make sure, hey, we're not copying anybody, right? And I think what's going to be interesting as far as the ethics are concerned, you're starting to see more media publications, take like OpenAI and those places to court for using their content to feed its algorithm to serve its without being credited that content and all that. And so I think it's just going to be a really interesting space to watch. And whoever asked that question, I really like that you asked that, and that's how you're thinking of it, right? You're not just saying all systems go, let's move ahead. You're taking a step back and kind of looking at what is the ethical implications of this? How do we not accidentally get our marketing team in hot water from plagiarizing or doing something not completely above board as a team? I think it's always a great way to look at new tech. Can you share insights in the role? I'm about running out of time on customer journeys. And is there one AI source that does better when dealing with legal businesses than others? I'll talk to the legal business part of it. Like the tool I mentioned, we use Lega, and that is a walled garden form of ChatGPT. So it keeps us a lot more compliant, a lot more safe than just going out in the Wild West and using any Gen AI piece. There is another AI tool called Briefly that can look at, your company's experience, what kind of clients have you taken on, what kind of services have you provided to help respond to RFPs and that kind of thing. And then some of your more legacy tech, legal tech is starting to bake AI into it to where you can pull previous cases and history and bios and that kind of thing and be able to respond to an RFP or serve a client case a lot better, but in a way that doesn't compromise that attorney-client privilege. And that is it. If you want to reach out to me, have any other questions, want to continue the conversation, I have my contact information on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And if you stuck around the whole time, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me.
Great. And thank you, Drew, for such an incredible keynote. I want to thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. As a reminder, please be sure to check out the prizes and raffle rules section to see how you can earn points for the chance to win one of several prizes. Our next session will begin at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which will be a keynote presentation titled Think, Lead, Influence, Elevating Your Digital Marketing Strategy. Please click on the join button that will appear on your screen to be redirected to the next session, and we look forward to seeing you there.